Get notifications and stay updated every time I post a challenge podcast by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all and hope you enjoy. And welcome back to another episode, but this isn't just any episode. This is episode number 70. And if you're looking on your screen right now, folks, I had to get a special guest for number 70. You might recognize her well, Miss Jasmine. What's up?
Hi, guys. Hey, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm so glad I could have you for this episode because, I spoke with you in the DM. I obviously told you about that this was number 70, wanted to do something big, and you're quite the guest, but especially for this episode in particular because I think that there's a lot I want to talk about, obviously. I know that from following you on Twitter, you do a little bit of watching for the challenge. So when I was thinking in my head, I was like, who could I get as a guest that would probably relate to, what I'm going to say, but also have her own opinions too. So I'm like, and then the light bulb went off. I was like, Jasmine, there she goes. I got to get her.
Of course, absolutely. It's been a while since I've done an interview, so I might be a little rusty, but that's okay.
Hey, we'll see. But what's this kind of crazy life been for you? I always want to ask my guests towards the beginning what this pandemic adjustment and everything's been like. So what's it kind of been like for you?
For me, it's been interesting. It's been a learning thing. I have two little ones who are 5 and 3. So school and daycare and sports activities, that completely changed for them. Luckily my daughter's dance studio has been great since the beginning of COVID and switched them directly to Zoom. And, they still get to do recitals. They do them outside now in small groups. So it's been an adjustment for that. I've had to be a teacher. And I realized I'm so glad I never got a degree in teaching. I have so much respect for teachers, and my mom is a teacher, and I literally have so much respect for them. It's the hardest job ever. And when you're trying to parent and then teach, it's chaos. And just, I'm a social person, so just not being able to be around people, and especially being in a new area trying to make friends, it's been kind of hard. And I can't go to Texas and see my own family and friends, so it's been difficult, but we're getting through it. We've come up with some really creative ideas and fun things to do, so I'll be happy when this is over someday.
No, definitely. The first thing that I always think about, when I think about what people have to go through with this new life is especially the kids, you just mentioned about obviously having kids. I just can't imagine them growing up in kind of this little world that we're in right now. Back in the summer, I was working a part-time with at a day camp. So to see those kids kind of just play at the playground with masks on, it just didn't really, it was just a weird vibe, you know what I mean? It just didn't really sit right,
Yeah, it feels weird. I know, like you were saying last spring when I was taking my kids to the playground because I love going to the playgrounds, it's kids are playing, but as parents, we're not so much sitting on the sidelines. We're they're watching, okay, don't touch that kid. Don't do that. That kid's not wearing a mask. And it's that's not how it should be. And it's it's stressful for the kids. And I feel bad. And for me, being a stay-at-home mom, I would take my kids to the Children's Museum, the Boston, Art Museum, all these places. And I can't, and we can now finally slowly start to do some of those things. But it's in the back of your head as a parent, you're scared, but you don't want to project that on your child because I don't want them to think that this is normal because this is not normal. And my 5-year-old, she kind of gets it. She understands it, and she's understands she has to wear her mask for certain things. My 3-year-old, not so much. He is cannot stand it, absolutely throws a tantrum, will start spitting in grocery stores just to piss people off. Oh my gosh. He is a ham bone, but I love him. But it's not easy.
No, definitely not. I commend all parents, especially I'm older now, obviously, not like me, but you know what I mean, parents when they have younger kids, I commend them especially because it's a lot. It's a lot, even just in general, raising young kids, but then having to raise them during this, it's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to deal with, and it's also a lot to think about. Like, with they have this new vaccine that's out, but there's no long term. No one knows what can happen in the long term. So as a parent, you're already having to give your kids all these vaccines anyways. And I do believe in vaccinations and all that, but I do an alternative vaccine for my kids where they still get their vaccines, but I separate, like I do it like once a month. I don't give them 4 vaccines at once. Now that you want me to give them this vaccine where no one knows what can happen, and me and my husband have to make a decision as a parent what's best. We don't want our kids to be social outcasts, but then we don't know if this could hurt them later on in life. So it's like, that's a really hard choice that I think a lot of parents have to make. And I think even adults, we have to make that choice because we want to live long enough to see all these things as well, too. So I think it's just a really weird time to be living in right now.
And actually, that's an interesting point you just made. Like, I think about that, too. Like, right now it's been almost a year, so this is like I guess you could say an extended period of time that we're like wearing masks, kind of like distancing, isolation. I feel like now in a way, like say if like once this is over, like and we're back to like a more normal like we were before, that might do something psychologically to like younger kids and make them more like of introverts and kind of like isolate themselves from people even after it's over. So yeah.
It's funny you say that because my 3-year-old, we were just talking about this at dinner. He's very much an introvert. And we're wondering if it's because when he started daycare, he was only there for 2 months, and then we had to pull him out because of COVID. And then he just started preschool this past October for the first time. So is that having something to do with like why he's not really socializing as much with kids? Like he'll play with kids next to them, but he won't really like interact with them as much.
Oh yeah.
That's like you're saying, that's a very valid point that you brought up, and that's something that I think the younger generation, these kids have to deal with and overcome, and that's there's already enough that kids have to deal with. As my daughter just told me the other day, because I told her she couldn't have a cupcake. It sucks being a kid.
Hey, she's not wrong.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where she learned the word sucks from. That's what I was more mad about.
Yeah, so we can now transition into some real world challenge related stuff. I know the people watching this are probably like wondering which TED Talk they showed up to, but
I know, like, wait, what happened here?
Yeah, but what were you kind of up to before Real World or leading into Real World that kind of like caused that domino effect for you into getting onto Real World? So essentially, what you were up to, and then kind of like your process now.
Well, before the Real World, I was in college. I was in my sophomore junior year at Texas Southern University in Houston. I was, just partying, living life, having a good time with my friends, working as a waitress, and all my friends who were going to a open casting call for the Real World in Houston at a bar. And I had to work, so I missed it, but they gave me all the information. So I emailed the producers like at 3:00 in the morning, this crazy email, probably misspelled so many words. And about like maybe a few weeks later, I get an email back saying, oh, you've been moved up to like round 2 or 3, fill out this long questionnaire and give us like all your friends' like numbers and information. So I said, okay. So I filled it out. Maybe like the day before it was due, because you only had like 3 days to fill it out. Another drunken night, filled it out. 2 months later, I got a call, and they're like, hey, we really like you. We want you to come out to LA, and like we want to like, have you like test in front of the green screen and like meet with Sykes and do all this stuff. So I said, okay. Went and did it, and just told them how I felt. Like, I was just, in school, and I felt like with my group of friends that I was with that I wasn't like the pretty girl, and like I had these insecurity issues and had a little bit of like daddy issues at the time. Me and my dad weren't really talking that much, and they like, I want to say maybe right before Christmas, they called me and told me that, hey, you made it and you're going to Cancun. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this and see what happens. And now look where I'm at.
So do you think like when they were maybe talking to you with like, your audition, do you feel like maybe they saw some vulnerabilities within you and that's maybe why they wanted to cast you?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of like vulnerability and insecure issues, but even though I came off as this person that nothing bothered me, I'm, the strongest person ever, like, I don't care what anyone has to say about me, but they saw right through me. Like they saw that she does really, really care. And eventually she's not going to be able to put on this facade for so long. She's going to snap, which I did.
I mean, from what I've, heard from talking with these people, that, the ones that are obviously like in charge of all, these people are geniuses from what
Oh yeah.
it seems like. They really know how to like evaluate like character traits and like find the perfect fits, I feel like.
Oh yeah, we all used to joke around. They have this board. They probably put people's names and be like, okay, what can happen if these two people meet, and what if this person likes this person? Like they literally probably like in their heads pre-write the season, and 9 times out of 10 they're probably right about what actually happens. But one thing I have said before, like, I think one thing I think the producers thought, and I don't know this, but this is just me thinking this, I think that they probably thought that me and Jonna were really going to get along in the real world on our season, and we didn't. But it's funny now, like, 10 years later, we get along so great. So it's like they were right, but they just had the timing wrong on it.
Yeah. So what was that process, would you say, like, not fast tracked for you, but do you feel like you went through it like pretty straightforward, like there were no like bumps in the road, and whether or not you feel like you were gonna get on the season?
I never took it seriously. That's the thing. So to me, it didn't matter if I got on the show or not. It was just, like I said, I was trying to fit in with my group of college friends at the time. So I did it, and I kept getting called, and they liked that I was getting calls. So I was telling them, and I was like, if I make it, I make it. I don't care. It's not a big deal. I'm still going to go drinking on Thursday night. So.
And I'm seeing like a common pattern here. It seems like the people that like don't care like as much, like they're like, like those are usually the ones that get casted, it feels like, almost. The laid back ones.
I feel that way too. And I remember after I did my season of Real World, and I had people that like I either went to high school with or college, and I knew them and they wanted to get on the show. And I would tell them, okay, this is what you need to do. And when they would have castings, I would go to some of these castings, and I would always tell everybody, just be yourself. Have fun. Don't take it like it's a serious job interview. Just have fun. And another big thing, and this, when social media was starting to become big and all that, I told them, do not tell people what you're doing. Don't say you're going to the next process. Don't say that. I was like, they have a whole department that watches everything that you say. And the moment you do that, they are going to cancel you out. Because I had a guy friend that I went to high school with. He made it very far. And then as soon as he made it to like a really far point, he put something on social media about it, and he never heard back from them. And I was like, I told you, don't say anything. You've got to just treat this like it is what it is. Because they can tell when people are trying to be too eager, trying to put on a fake persona, or trying to be someone else they've already casted. Like they can see through all that.
No, yeah, definitely. And your season was kind of crazy because, I mean, from speaking with IE, I think, would you guys have like a hurricane or something was going on during that season? And then
we
Perez
had a swine flu.
Oh, the swine flu, because I'm trying to like scatter my brain right now. I think Perez Hilton had put out something too during that time about yours.
That like we got swine flu, or some people did, and they cut production short. Okay, they cut production short by like 4 days. Like they had so much for a show, they could have cut it a month early, but they just cut it 4 days early. Just I don't even know if it was because of swine flu or whatever, but I know after Perez Hilton said something, BNP had to issue out a statement saying that everyone is fine. Like we never had to go get tested or anything because it was such a new thing. Like it just came out, and then we go home, and then everyone says, "Oh, they went home because of swine flu." Nobody had swine flu.
So do you feel like you guys cutting it short maybe took away from any of the potential storylines that could have unfolded, or you feel like you guys still got everything out of the experience that you guys were aiming for?
I think we got everything out because honestly, maybe 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave, we were all kind of burnt out at that point. We were emotionally tired. We were done with working with Student City. We were over spring break. We were over going to the same clubs at like on these certain nights and drinking, and everybody was starting to miss home. Like we were done. So I don't think there's anything else that could have been said or done or even repaired at that point.
And yeah, it seems like you guys are actually probably, I mean, I could just be saying this, but it seems like out of all the Real World casts, you guys are probably the most tight-knit, closest ones, like, after your season. Like, it seems like legitimately you guys all still, like, stick in contact and, like, care for each other, which I actually appreciate seeing that.
Absolutely. We're family. We've been family since day one. And we've always said that. And we're the type of family where we can fight and pick and get on each other's nerves. But any outsider tries to do that, we're all going to come in and defend that person. You can't mess with my family. And, after the show, we've all, try to keep in touch. We might not talk every day or like all that, but we always, birthdays, anniversaries, kids being born, new jobs, new movements, family deaths, whatever. We all try to be there for each other. Because what us 8 went through, only us 8 know about that. Only us 8 know those deep conversations and things. I mean, there's stuff that we've all talked about on the show that they never showed and that people to this day still don't know. And that's something that we are going to always hold close to each other, So, I mean, these are my brothers and sisters for life, even if they irritate the hell out of me and I want to choke them some days, but I still love them.
Yeah, and it was pretty evident too, because like on, for instance, Battle of the Seasons, when they're introducing all the teams, like, and they cut to confessionals, everybody's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to this person in like 8 years," and then you guys are giving each other's hugs and kisses. So I mean, I was like, what?
Oh yeah, like that season we knew because we actually all talked, all like 7 of us, because at that time nobody was really talking to Joey, and everyone had got calls, and we're like, okay, so if we do this, do we think this pair should go? This will work well, blah, 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 blah. We were already plotting like how this was going to work before we started filming. And we always said that no matter what, we're going to show a family front. We're not going to fight in front of company. We're going to fight privately.
Battle of the Seasons is like, in my eyes, like one of the more underrated seasons. Like, I really genuinely enjoy that season, and I feel like there's a large majority that might not see it the same way as I do, and I think that's because of like the overwhelming rookie presence on the show. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like I'd say more than half the teams there were like rookie teams, and I just don't think like, I feel like Challenge fans in general aren't like crazy when it comes to change. So yeah, like seeing that was kind of like for them a little overwhelming, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree that I thought Battle of the Seasons was absolutely not given the like this. I thought it was a great show. I thought it was a great season. So much stuff happened on that season, and even the concept and setup, how they did it to where the winning team got to pick if it was endurance, physical, mental, whatever, and that played a really key part in how you did things. If you give someone this, you save this for yourself. And you knew what the games were, and you knew that they were going to tweak them a little bit. So it really, worked out really well. I thought it was a great season. I was just telling someone maybe a couple weeks ago that they should bring back something like the Battle of the Seasons, but have it be like a Real World team, Survivor team, Big Brother team, a UK team, Exes on the Beach team. Like, I would love to see something like that. And it was that exact same format of how they did Battle of the Seasons. I think that would be awesome. And it would also give the fans a chance to adjust to the new changes of other people coming from other shows coming into the challenge. Because let's face it, Real World, they're not going to do another Real World. It's over. A lot of us are getting older and making families, and we're pulling out. So you have to start embracing some of these people from other shows coming in.
And I'm glad you just brought that up because I actually way back when I actually pitched that same idea on here too. We could dive into that a little bit right now. Just talking about Battle of the Seasons in general, like that season, I felt was really refreshing. Like the cast, refreshing. We saw really cool, like, and you talked about the politic process with you know, choosing which eliminations for like which matchup benefits those teams. The daily challenges, I mean, were so cool. We saw Hall Brawl. That was the first season that Hall Brawl came. I mean, that might bring up bad memories for you. We'll get into that later. But we saw like really cool eliminations come from that. So for me, I mean, a Battle of the Season format with what we just agreed on would be kind of crazy because we had people debut on that season and kind of like newer people, and I feel like if you were to introduce some of these newer people, say from like a Big Brother, Survivor, the or the fans that might not be as open to these cast members now might be more open to it in a format like that where everybody's kind of like new and getting introduced to them.
Exactly. And I think that's, like you said, it's a great idea because that's how you have to think about it. People forget that this Battle of the Seasons, this is where you met Marie and Nani and Dustin and Frank and Zach. Jemmy. Yes, people you're still talking about now because you got that time to get to know them. You got to know about like what their season was kind of about and all of that. So I think they do need to go back to that and introduce people to these new cast members coming in.
Yep, and we'll get into more of that a little bit. But I want to now start with the challenge. Did you have any aspirations for getting onto the challenge, like after Real World was over?
Yeah, I did want to do it. Like, so right after our season, people started getting calls for fresh meat, and I didn't get a call for it. So I was a little salty about it. I was like, okay, whatever. They're just saving me for the next one. You know, I just got off the show, not a big deal. Then Cutthroat comes around. Everybody from my cast gets a call but me. And I'm like, fuck it, screw it. I'm done with them. I'm not doing anything for them. I don't care. And then I think 6 months later, I get the call for Rivals. Okay, I'm going. And then once I got into the challenge bug hit me. And I was like, okay, I want to do this.
So, and not to take the wind out of your sails, but do you feel like maybe were you called or brought on to Rivals specifically to get Jonna on? Because if you're implying that you didn't get the call before then, do you feel like that played a part?
Wow. I never thought about that. Well, no, I'm not that makes sense because Jonna was supposed to be on Fresh Meat, but she lost her passport. And so they had to replace her. I think they replaced her with Evelyn, I want to say. Yeah. And then I think she did get called for Cutthroat, but she couldn't go for some reason. I don't know why. And then Rivals, that makes sense. So yeah, I could see them calling me so they could get her. Well, I'm glad I punched that mirror because that solidified my spot for a few years.
well, that's what I'm saying. There's always that silver lining that I point out, and I feel like you made a very big splash when you did, like on your first appearance, and that's what kind of like was like, okay, she's a shoo-in. We gotta stay. Yeah, she can stay. But
that's so funny. I never thought about that. Like seriously, 10 years I've never thought about they only put me on Rivals so they could get Jonna. Oh, I have to call and ask some questions now. And I'm just kidding.
No, MTV seemed to love Jonna. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, why would you not? I mean, she's beautiful. She's done challenges. She's a former endurance winner. I mean, come on, we've all watched endurance growing up. I mean, why wouldn't you want her on the challenge? So you got to find a way to get her there. So you're welcome, everyone.
What was your rivalry with Jonna coming into Rivals 1? Like the dynamic, like how were things with you guys?
Well, our rivalry started on our season. We were fighting over the same guy. And it wasn't even just that. I kind of felt like Jonna and I were always constantly trying to like one up each other. And so after the show, we really didn't talk very much. And then, we did Rivals. And I think Rivals really made us realize that there's no point for us to fight each other. We're two beautiful, strong women, and there's no point for us to be doing this. We could win this game and take over. So, you see on Rivals that me and Jonna actually have that kumbaya, like before we have the kumbaya moment, we have like a breakdown and really get into it to where I'm ready to leave the house, and then afterwards it's like everything changed. We got it together, and then we did that elimination. And, I tell people all the time, like, that elimination between Sarah and Caitlyn, I literally did nothing. Jonna did every bit. I just sat in a coffin in Costa Rican heat for maybe 4 or 5 hours. That's about it. She figured the puzzle out, told me what to do, and I just did it. So that was literally her win. And the fact that after that she did that, I knew that we could continue and have a friendship and build on that. And that's what we've done.
I wanted to bring up that elimination too, because everybody loves that elimination, and I love it too. And when I said that you were going to be joining me today, they wanted me to talk with you about it because, kind of like Sarah and Caitlyn, more specifically Sarah, were pretty vocal with like wanting you guys, like in terms of like who they were going up against. We're pretty cocky going into it, and to kind of see you guys kind of buck up to them and like beat them in that was really cool moment. Was that a little more sweeter for you guys, like to beat them after those kind of comments made by Sarah?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know about any of Sarah's comments because for that elimination, we always do elimination in the evening times, like around 8 o'clock after dinner. TJ came into the house like around 1 o'clock and said, one of you has to go. So I chose to go. Sarah chose to go. Caitlyn chose to go. So they took us off. So we were gone. So I didn't know any of that, what Sarah said to Jonna, and she never told me afterwards. I never knew that's how everybody was feeling until I watched the show and saw it. And then, while I'm in the elimination and I finally get out of that coffin and I'm kind of looking around and I kind of see everything, I'm noticing that nobody's cheering for us. No one wants us there. And then when we won, it was dead silence. All you heard was CT cheering for us. He was like our only fan was CT. And, to beat Sarah and Caitlyn in that type of a game, because everyone knew, because we were all waiting. There hadn't been a puzzle challenge yet. And everyone had already stated no one wants to go and get Sarah and Caitlyn in a puzzle. Like, and the fact that Jonna and I went in there and Jonna just dominated as rookies, because that season there was only 2 teams of rookies, us and Jonna, me and Jonna and Leroy and Mike. That was it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to do that and kind of shut people up, like Jonna put her name on the map and helped put my name on the map as well with that. So I loved it.
Did you feel any type of way after the fact, maybe watching it over like from the screen and seeing like that was kind of like what they were thinking going into it? Did that have you feeling any certain way, like, oh, I'm glad this happened?
Yeah, it did. At that time and point, it made me feel some type of way that, like, Sarah said something to Jonna, and I was like, wait, if you say something crazy to my partner, I'm going to say something. Teresa's already learned. You waited till I left to say something to her. And I wish Jonna would have told me, but she was already gone, so it wouldn't have mattered. So
yeah, you guys were one of my favorite performances from like rookies in a single season, and believe it or not, you guys have drawn kind of like comparisons now. It was actually funny. I don't know how much of this current season you've been watching, but
watch all the episodes.
Watch all the episodes. Okay, so you'll be familiar with this. When I said that you were going to be joining me today, one of the fans, they've posted a tweet, and it said, Jasmine walked so the itty-bitty small committee could run.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're going to talk about that crew. We're going to, we're going to talk about them for sure.
For sure. But yeah, I was gonna ask you, since we're on the topic of you mentioned about the mirror punch before. I had to assume any boxing promotions reach out to you after they saw that kind of like one shot shatter.
No, no boxing promotions, but people who knew me in high school were like, we're not surprised that that happened.
Well, what was did it hurt after, or were you just feeling like such an adrenaline rush that it didn't even really like?
It didn't really even kick into me. I felt nothing. And when I did it, like I knew it was there. It's kind of like how you know a wall is there. And you're like, okay, I'm going to punch this wall. Like it's not going to shatter. I didn't think that this was going to shatter. But because I knew there was a hard base behind it, but I punched through that hard base as well. So I was like,
Wow.
oh my God, like, I was like, oh God. And I didn't have to pay for it either. That's a surprising thing. Because normally when you break stuff like that, you're in somebody else's home, obviously.
Yeah.
And they normally make you pay for big things, but I didn't have to pay for that one. I would require that they send me a bill.
no, no warning or anything from production?
No.
Wow.
No warning.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What? Well, let's talk about this hall brawl now, since we kind of bookmarked it before. Obviously, I mean, the CJ Zach aspect of it is like what probably many would consider, I would consider, the greatest elimination to ever occur on the challenge. And then, obviously, you against Sam, it might have not benefited to your strengths, being that like you were smaller. And I've seen people throw around that, you know, Jonna should have volunteered maybe for this elimination. They're wondering if maybe it would have made a difference. Do you feel like it would have made a difference if between you or Jonna? I personally feel like Sam might have had that regardless. Mm-hmm. But what could you do?
Yeah, you know, that was also really a good thing about Battle of the Seasons, because there was 4 different types of eliminations and you have a team of 4. So what a lot of teams did and what we did is we had decided, okay, this pair is going to do this together. This pair is going to do that together. Well, originally how it was supposed to be that Jonna and CJ would do the physical elimination because we knew it was Hall Brawl. But at that point in the game, we're a little past the halfway point, and we're thinking, okay, if we even go down to 2, we had always said that no matter what, we were all going to split the money, even if 2 people won it for us at the end. So we had to make a decision, what would be the best decision for if we were to break up, what would work. So CJ said, you know, I said I would do Hall Brawl. I'm going to do it. Even though Derek had volunteered and said, yeah, I'll do it. You know, me and Jazz will do it. You and Jonna stay or whatever. And, you know, Jonna, you know, didn't want to do it really. And, you know, at that point in time, I knew Jonna's situation. And I was in a pretty good and comfortable situation of my own. So I said, I'll take it, you know, and I've surprised people before in challenges, so I could probably do this, you know? And looking back at it, people ask me all the time, would I do the same thing again? Would I volunteer myself to go in? Yes, I would. I definitely would. I would have definitely gotten a lot lower on Sam to take her knees out. Like, I don't know what. Like, I'm a football girl. I should know this, but I just did not do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's too hard to predict like how the rest of the season would have played out. But like when I talked to CJ about it, I mean, typically, and I mean, we spoke about football before we started rolling, so I mean, this should be right up our alley. Typically, it was overtime, obviously, between Zach and CJ, essentially the extra heat. Typically, overtime, it's kind of like sudden death. Like first team scores a touchdown, they win. If that would have been the case, CJ won that first overtime heat, and then say if that was game set match, right? You guys potentially, in all likelihood, skate to a final, and then you guys probably win with a team of 4 instead of what it was with San Diego's 4 team winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I personally feel like up until CJ and I got eliminated, Cancun, we were running that house. We were running the game. We had some very strong alliances with San Diego and with parts of Vegas. So we had it. So if we ended up winning and broke down San Diego, we would have definitely went to the final and we would have won it.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
100%. Because the plan was to always try to shorten the Brooklyn team. Because, people look at the Brooklyn team like, oh, they're not that strong, but they're smart. They were very, very smart.
Mm. It's actually crazy now to like look back on these. Like, that's probably my favorite part of like being like a fan, is kind of like looking back and like coming up with like all these theories of like what could have happened, and like that's definitely probably my favorite part. So I don't know, it's not too crazy to imagine a world where Jasmine's a challenge champ. That's all I'm saying. The facts are right there.
I know. I always told myself, if I ever became a challenge champ, I'm not going to come back because I have nothing else to prove. I've already done it, So, but no challenge champ for me. I had to end my career with no challenge champ. But it's okay, though. I had fun.
And we got to talk about now the following season, which, I mean, this person that I'm going to talk about is Miss Popular in terms of like the challenge, because she returned this season and kind of like brought some life back into the season and the challenge. I thought, seeing a big OG return after a while. I want to talk about kind of like now your rivalry with Theresa. We'll get into like your thoughts on like her game plan this season, but like I want to hear like now dating back then, what was like your rivalry with her now coming onto the season? Was it as like kind of hostile, or what was that kind of dynamic like?
Well, I mean, those of you who've watched the challenges before, Theresa and I's rivalry, it was physically hostile. We literally almost got into a physical fight with each other. We are both hotheads. We are both not afraid to say how we feel. We're very blunt. We're straightforward, and it can rub people the wrong way at times. And we just happen to rub each other the wrong way. And so when we did Rivals 2 together, that was a little bit difficult for me because I personally believe I should not have been on Rivals 2. I got the call for that when I was planning my father's funeral, and I had to leave a month later and go do the challenge. So my mind was not there. I mean, if you go back and watch Rivals 2 from the very first challenge to our elimination, you could see that I'm not trying. Yeah, I'm the smallest person. I'm tiny, but I'm literally not giving it anything that I have. I didn't give it my heart. I didn't give it my all. And I felt bad for doing that to Theresa because I knew she wanted this, and I knew I could have been a stronger partner for her, and I wasn't. But that's because I was just going through my own emotional issues, and I had checked out at that point. So after Rivals 2, we kind of stayed in touch through like social media and things like that, and she knows that like what had happened, and I've apologized to her for not giving her my 100%, my heart, because I feel like people know me for giving it everything I've got, my heart. Like, that's what I'm known for on the challenge, is having the biggest heart and just doing it, even if I know the odds are against me. And, the fact that we're now both moms and, we see each other and respect each other on a totally different level than what we did before.
No, definitely. And I was going to ask you now, because seeing her kind of get confirmed that she was going to be on this coming season, I'll be completely honest, like I was really excited because it was nice to see kind of like that old challenge like kind of now like breathe life into the new challenge, like, and see like a cool return, because I feel like fans have been always recently wanting like old Real Worlders to come back, and then we haven't really got that. So it was cool to kind of see her come back. And, people have been kind of, or at least the cast members have been kind of like skeptical for gameplay, calling her like toxic tea and such. But I like the game plan. I don't see a problem. And I was going to ask you about that, because I don't see how what she did is being any different than what anyone else does. I feel like she's being ostracized for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't understand that she is playing the game of how this game was built on. That's what it was. Like, I mean, This is what the challenge is about. You take a swing, you take a big one, and if you miss, you miss. And the fact that she kept her head held high, while basically it seemed like to me the whole house just did not want to talk to her, was probably pretty nasty to her, and she didn't let that get to her. She still continued to play. But that's what this is built off of. That's what when people talk about the Johnnies and the Wesses and the CTs and the Kennys and Evans, Corals and Ruthys, they taught us this game. So it's kind of like some of these new people, no offense, but you need to go back and do your challenge history and see how it was done. Now, if you don't like how it was done, then you change it. But don't forget where it all started.
And exactly, and it just feels like now with like the newer cast members, like it's almost like they're turning the challenge game into a Big Brother game. And that's the vibe that I'm getting from this. And it kind of bothered me, like, to see like her ostracized. Like it was, I would have been uncomfortable if I was in her shoes, because like, I mean, you got to think about it already. I mean, she's at this point, she's 2 kids, a family at home, and then she's going across the country during a pandemic to film a show, and then the house is kind of like treating you a certain way over like something that you're probably used to and accustomed to from when you were last playing the game. It had to have been weighing on her head a little bit.
I feel like you could kind of see that it was weighing on her, and she was trying so hard to, like, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, like I haven't talked to her, so I don't know this, it felt like she was trying to hold back from just snapping on their asses. Because, I mean, we've all seen Theresa snap. The girl can, she can give it to you, So, and I commend her for doing that, because I think in her mind, she was probably thinking of, I'm not that 25-year-old crazy single person anymore. I'm a mom, a wife, my husband's in the NFL. There's a code that they probably have to go by. So she was really trying her hardest, and everybody was just coming after her. And I felt bad for her. And I don't really understand why people were calling her toxic T. Like, why was she toxic? Like, because she went around to people asking where they felt and what she wanted, or what she wanted to vote in. If any of the guys like Wes or Johnny or Kenny or Evan or any of those guys would do stuff like that, nobody said anything. So because she's a female, is that the problem? Like, why are people giving her this toxic T name? Like, that really, like, it pissed me off.
Really?
And I'm a type of person, like, if you've played a game with me and I'm your partner, like, we're family now. Like, so when they piss you off, I'm pissed off now. I'll fight your battle for you. Like, I wanted to go through that screen and smack a few of those people around. I really did. I mean, I know that's horrible, and I shouldn't be condoning violence and all that, but that just made me so mad.
No, yeah, definitely. I think that she came into this pretty much knowing that this was probably going to be her swan song, if you will, in terms of, like, this was going to be like her kind of like a one-off, that's kind of what I felt, at least.
Yeah, your one final, like, hoorah. Like, you want to go back, see if you still got it, see how the game is, and, she did what she had to do, but you never know. She could come back. You never know.
I do want to talk now before we exit off of Rivals 2, because Rivals 2 is a season that most people would probably put near the top as like one of the best seasons. It's one of my favorite seasons. Something about it, the vibe of it, I just like. But when they dissect the term rivals, in terms of Rivals 2, they always wonder, like, why is this person with this person? Like, is this really a rivalry? What did you think of, like, some of the rivalries on Rivals 2? Do you feel like it was a little bit weaker in the rival department in terms of, like, definition?
I think for some teams it was. I think me and Theresa, that was a legit situation. So I got that one, but God, I'm trying to even remember who was there.
You had Johnny with Frank that was based off of Twitter, and they hadn't even met at that point. Dustin and Frank would have been cool.
That would have been so perfect.
I think that's what happened, because Dustin, I think Dustin went and did couples therapy with Heather during that period of time, and that's why he couldn't do it, and that's why they had to flip around the pairings. So that's why, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then like who was CT paired with?
CT was with West. That made sense.
That made sense. Okay, yeah, that did make sense.
But like Leroy was with Ty. You had Tyree and Dunbar. Like those are a couple that didn't make much sense.
What I understand, the Tyree and Dunbar, because a few of us didn't get that one. They said that goes back from like, that went back from the islands, and some people thought it was about other things, but I'm not gonna say what those other things were. But there's some things you stay behind the closed doors.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like I mean, people liked the season. I liked the season. It just felt like the rivalry definition was kind of like stretched a little bit, but
yeah, I think with some people it was stretched, and to me, that's like I said, that season for me, my mind wasn't there. So there's a lot of that season I really just don't remember. So.
Yeah, Aya was actually an alternate for that season. Her and Cara and her were a team, but they were an alternate team because they had like some little beef from like Cutthroat, and then Cara ended up getting used because what is it? Who?
Trishelle.
Yeah, somebody left. Trishelle or Naomi, one of them left, and then that's why Cara was used. But yeah, otherwise, Aya and Cara would have been a pair. That would have been fun.
That would have been. Oh God, I would have loved to have Aya P in there. Oh.
Aya is one of the people that kind of got like robbed. Like we didn't have enough Aya in our lives. I'll say that.
I agree, and I feel bad about that. I'm like, did Jonna and A kind of like take away from some of our roommates like on that? Because like sometimes after a while, me and Jonna, we'd see each other. We'd be like, oh, it's us two again together.
That's what it seemed. It just seemed like John A was always the shoe-in every single season. Every season you look, you're like, oh, there's John A. She's here. Yep. So. But I do got to ask one final Rivals 2 question. I saw it got brought up on Twitter the other day, which was kind of everyone was so confused by this to this day, which was that elimination that was a non-elimination, which was supposed to be you and Theresa against Cook and Cara in that electrocution thing. What was that? Like, what was the thought process behind that?
We didn't even understand that one either. We didn't get that. Like, it was, I don't even know why they let us stay or what happened. I don't know why. Like, and we even said, like, they should have did it better where they had us, like, actually, like, you know, tied up to the things to make us think we're actually going to do this. Because I promise you, I was scared shitless. I was like, oh my God, I am possibly going to die. Like, this is it. Like, Dad, I'm going to see you soon. Like, that's how I kind of felt. Like, but I mean, I don't know why. I don't know if they were running out of time or what. Like, I'm with you guys. I mean, I have no idea why they did that. I should probably ask one of my producer friends why.
They never told you guys like what the deal was with that?
No, they never told us.
Did anybody at the house speculate after that, or did you guys just kind of like sweep it under the rug after that?
Yeah, I don't remember anyone ever really talking about it anymore after that. We're kind of like, oh, okay, we got a free one. But at the same time, when that type of thing happens, it just puts a bigger target on you and your partner's back. Like, you guys got saved. One of y'all is supposed to be gone.
I think that like the theory about that was because like, it was Naomi that left. So they brought Cara in, but then Trishelle left, which meant Sarah left.
Right. Oh my God. I forgot.
So that's why. That's the theory why that happened was because Trishelle and Sarah left, so there was no elimination.
That that's what I'm saying. That's how much I tell you. Like, Rivals 2 was so like I was not even there, and I forgot Naomi was even freaking there. Like that's how bad it is. Like, I totally forgot. But yeah, so they had to balance it out because a team left, and some of us, I think about it more now, we also thought, was that really possibly an elimination? But they had to just scratch that one because Trishelle and Sarah went home.
Holy shit. Oh my God, imagine if it was elimination. Oh my God.
I totally would have beat Cara Maria. I love Cara. This is not to talk crap about her.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'd love
I
to
totally
tell.
would have beat her.
You think so?
I think so.
Didn't she say she had some contraption like that at her house?
She probably does, but she doesn't know what I do behind closed doors either. So,
I was gonna ask you now about. I was gonna ask you now, kind of about Cara Maria with the next question because do you feel like she's a little misunderstood within the challenge world? Because I feel
yes,
like fans and some cast members are pretty harsh with her. I mean, I got to speak to her, and I mean, this is my stance with everything. I don't know these people personally. It's an edited TV show. I'm not gonna be like Miss Negative Nancy, whatever, and formulate opinions on people I don't know based off a TV show. Like that's just not who I am. I will
right.
genuinely talk to these people like you and I are doing right now, and if I feel like the vibes that I'm getting off are good, then I give them the benefit of the doubt. So from speaking with Cara Maria, I saw a genuine nice person, and if she's on a season again, like that's someone I would root for. You know what I mean? But for some reason, like it seems like other people, cast members, fans, like have like this perception of her, and I feel like she's very misunderstood. So, do you feel like that's the case?
Absolutely. I think Cara Maria is absolutely misunderstood, and I can admit that at times I have misunderstood her and misjudged her and things that she has done. And that's not fair to do to anyone because at the same time, even though we're all doing these shows together, we all live together at this time, you don't know what other people are going through outside of just this and like what their real life is. And it took me being now in my 30s like to understand and get that. And I do believe that Cara has been mistreated unfairly at times, quite a few times actually. I felt like in the house I was always pretty nice to her, but I felt like social media at times back in the day when I thought I was a Twitter thug, I wasn't the nicest person, to her. And that's not fair to her as well. And I also know as even now not being on the show for years and I give an opinion about someone or something like that, I'm not trying to attack them as their character, who they are. I'm now a fan and a viewer. I'm just giving my opinion. Even though I do know you, it's not to attack you. So I do think at times I have misunderstood her and attacked her when she should not have been attacked. So I think people to this day are still doing it. And I have a feeling I know who you're talking about that with the recent podcast I've heard about. And I talked to Emily. She's actually texting me right now. And I can't speak on how Emily feels about Cara and Emily's, relationship or whatever, because like I said, they're both from Boston. They both do know a lot of the same people. So there could be some things that stem from that. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. But I also feel like at times in the beginning of when I started the challenge, I kind of saw Cara Maria sometimes as a person who would play victim on something and then try to be a badass and then play victim. And I think after a while, she finally said, you know what, I'm not going to play victim anymore. I'm going to be the strong, badass person. And that's what she's done. But I think some people haven't forgot those things she's done in the past, is playing the victim card.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and you talked about the other podcast. This is actually news to me. Like, actually, this is you saying this is actually the first. So I'm completely blind to it. So I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to speak on what other people have talked about and said on their podcasts because how they feel is their opinions. They can say what they want.
Right. But yeah, I want to dive into free agents a little bit, and this is kind of like where the juicier section starts to get into because this question, I mean, not the next question, but we're going to get into it after, was actually asked about a lot. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a little bit kind of about the free agent format. What was your feelings heading into that? Were you stoked that it was individual? Like, what's your feelings?
I I had mixed feelings. I was excited that it was individuals because it would like see that like I always felt like on a team or partner format, I was always the weakest link. And you're only as strong as your weakest link. So I thought that this was a chance for me to prove to everyone that I'm not this weak person. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, like I have to go into elimination or like a thing and solve shit by myself. Like, what if I panic? What if I freak out? I don't have anyone to kind of push me to say, keep going, keep doing it. So it was 50-50. I'm happy, I'm scared at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you had 3 Cancun girls on one season. That was, I was like, geez, like this is going to be a link up, right?
You would have thought. No, but it was. We all stayed in the same room, and we all like we would. At the end of the day, we all knew we would never vote each other in, but we would never tell the other person how to play this game because for all 3 of us, this is our first time ever playing an individual game too. So we were learning how this works as well too. So we were all trying to figure out how this works and how to do it.
I do want to ask now because obviously you just mentioned individual game, your elimination, that reaction, like that split reaction is kind of like a GIF now. With when you found out that you were going against Laurel and the balls in elimination, was that legit like your candid reaction, like finding out like really?
That was literally my canned reaction, and I am so mad that I reacted that way. Because I'm always like telling people, you don't cry. It doesn't matter if the person's bigger than you. You don't go into elimination being negative. You go in there and fight it. And that was supposed to be an emotion that I kept in my head, or I did that like in private with no camera, no one looking, and then go and get my stuff together. But I had just lost it because the plan had always been they wanted, okay, Laurel got voted in, and everyone was hoping that Anissa pulled the kill card because they wanted Anissa and Laurel to go in. And when it came down to just it being me and Anissa, I was like, oh, okay, I've got to pull the right one. And I don't know if you kind of noticed, I moved my hand and over to like the one that's not the kill card, but I ended up grabbing the kill card. So it was not what I wanted, and I wasn't ready to go yet. Like, I felt like I had so much more to, like, do. And it's like, I don't want to go against Laurel. Like, I've already done this before. Like, I don't want to do it again. So it was not the best emotion. I hate that it's a GIF. I have seen it.
Do you feel like Laurel's the greatest female to ever compete on the challenge? Or is there another name that comes to mind? Like, what are your feelings on that?
I think she is a top contender for sure. I don't think she's one of the greatest, females. Not saying that she can't be, and this is not taking away from Laurel. Like, I like Laurel. We get along great. I think Evelyn.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
And Evelyn, I say this because when I did Rivals 1, Evelyn, me and Johnny stayed in a room with Evelyn, and she was so nice to us, had our back, like never, she said from day one, I'm not going to vote you girls, and she never did. She kept her word, gave us advice, looked out for us. So like, and Evelyn is a hell of a competitor. Hell, half the boys don't want to go against her. So I think Evelyn is up there, is better than Laurel. Like, but I would love to see Evelyn and Laurel in a hall brawl. I will pay money to see that.
That's a toss up because I think Laurel has like obviously like stature wise maybe, but she's strong.
That's what I'm saying. You have height going against strength, which Laurel is strong too. Like no, don't take that away from her. But yeah, I don't think Laurel is one of the greatest, but she's definitely in the top like 5.
That's pretty reasonable. But now this is question. I mean, I've seen this thing flow in a bunch of times from people they wanted me to ask you about. We got to talk about the Nia after show fight for free agents. What was the deal there? Because this seems to be consensus wise thing that everyone wants to know about. So you're on the hot seat.
Oh boy, I've seen people talk about this. I look at Reddit and like Vevmo and Venmo, all of them. I read you guys stuff about that. I'm in there creeping around watching. That was honestly, people ask me like, what was your Naya's problem? What was your problem, Naya? I really had no problem with Naya. I had an internal problem with myself. I was going through a lot of things. I'm not afraid to say this. I had a little bit of a drug problem, and my mind I was not thinking in the right mindset. And I would just get on Twitter and, Instagram and Facebook and just go off without thinking. And then it just turned into something with me and Naya, because even after that after show, a very popular producer throughout that everyone in production, the challenge world knows, pulled us to the side and said, why are you guys doing this? This makes no sense. Like, you are two strong Black women. You have little girls who look up to you guys. Why are y'all doing this? And it made no sense, but I understand Naya's point of view. When someone is coming after you and has a smart comment and wants to be like they're a badass, then I'm going to come for you, and you better be prepared for what I come for. And that's what I had to deal with. So me and Naya are two people who aren't going to back down. We're going to just keep going for each other. And that's what ended up happening till we both just stopped and just went our own separate ways.
So it was you that initiated it? Because I haven't actually seen the clip in a while, but
you know what? I don't know. Okay, so the clip of that, we got into it about something, but it all stemmed from Twitter beef before that. And she called me a cockroach and all, which is fucking hilarious. Whatever, I don't care. I've been called a semen demon before. Like, whatever, it's funny. So, but when she brought up my dad and said I had daddy issues, and I'm still dealing with, it being at that point maybe a year, my dad has been dead, and I'm dealing with also my substance issues as well. It just was not a good thing, and it just went completely left. And that's what happened. And I've seen everyone say, oh, Queen Naya, she told Jasmine off, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. She did. She said what she had to say. I said what I had to say. It is what it is.
So, did you guys not leave off on a good... So, say hypothetically right now, say if it wasn't me on the screen right now, say if it was Naya, how would that conversation go, do you feel like?
I mean, I can't say how Naya would feel, but I know for me, I have no animosity towards her. Like I said, I wasn't in a good place, and I have no ill will towards her. From what I've heard from people, she is, a businesswoman. She's a really excellent chef. She is living her life and doing great. And I'm proud of her. And I think that's awesome. I think it sucks that me and her had to end up that way, because I think we would have worked really well as friends and probably could have really dominated things in the challenge world as an alliance. So, just didn't work that way for us.
You might have secured yourself another rival partner, so.
I think if there's ever a rivals for, and myself or Naya probably would said, okay, we'll go. I'm pretty sure that's still on the dream board of us being rivals. That's the only rival I have left.
But we do got to talk about now, kind of and I'm sure you've heard this theory thrown around a couple times in regards to why Ari the One started being pulled. So basically, from what I've heard through the grapevine, you were supposed to be on Exes 2 with Swift, and then you got pregnant and then had to obviously drop out of the show, and then that's when they kind of scrambled at the last minute and got Ari the One people. I know from speaking to Trey and Laura from St. Thomas, they were also pegged to be on that as Exes pairs, and then they got, once you pulled out, and obviously that dropped Swift, they got relegated to alternates, and that's what brought in this whole domino effect, which is now Ari the One. that's since become Big Brother, that's since become. What is that really what happened?
First off, I've heard this too, and I always thought it was just people being funny, making a joke, but where are the receipts for this? Prove that I am the reason. Are you the one? And now all these people have like on the show. But if I have done that, wow, I am more powerful in BMP and MTV than I really freaking thought I was. But no, the timeline is a little off for everyone. So I did get a call for Battle of the Exes, and we knew it was Battle of the Exes too. And I had actually just moved to Massachusetts. I was living with Emily. I remember getting the call, like we were outside in the pool. I got the call, and then Swift called me because he's like, I know you've moved to Massachusetts because, to kind of get your life together and start fresh and start over. He's like, do you want to do this? He's like, if you want to do it, we'll do it. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to. And I said, well, do you want to do it? Do you really need the money? Can you really get away? And at that time, he had a really great business going. He's like, I have a bunch of meetings I've got to do, but I can push some things around, if you want to go. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I really have to get Jasmine together. I've got to get me back on track. I can't do this. So I called them back and said, no, I'm not going. So this was in the summer. I didn't meet my husband till December and didn't get pregnant until March, 6 months later. Or 5-6 months later. So y'all's timeline is a little off as far as I said no because I was pregnant. I said no because I just needed to take care of me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So there is some truth to it.
There is some truth. No, because me and Swift said no, there's probably some truth that Are You the One got called, but I knew there was a bunch of alternates. So the fact that they didn't choose those alternates, y'all need to go start yelling at them. Don't come at me because Are You the One is on there. But you know what? If I gave you guys Killer Cam, I gave you guys Millionaire Ashley, I gave you the Lavender Ladies. You're welcome.
Was this do you feel like was the Exes thing maybe would have been a bit stretched for you and Swift, or
no, that's the thing, it wouldn't have been a bit stretched because we were, oh god, I hate having to talk about this and I'm a married woman now, it's so weird. Thank god my husband's on a business trip right now. No, me and Swift were hooking up on Free Agents.
Yeah.
You can go back and see we were making out and doing things. So it wasn't there was a stretch. There was something there.
Yeah.
Hell, he wouldn't have been my only ex. I have a few others that people don't know about. So. Oh gosh.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble here.
I like I said, I'm keeping those in the closet. So. But no, it wouldn't have been a stretch for me and Swift. So, I appreciate that he respected that I didn't want to do it because, we stayed friends, even after we decided we didn't want to be in a relationship and all that type of stuff. So he knew what I was going through and knew that I was trying to get my life back on track. So I really appreciate him, calling me and say, this is whatever you want to do. So it wouldn't have been good for me to go on the challenge at that time. I needed to stop.
So the challenge bug had left Jasmine.
The challenge bug had left Jasmine.
Gosh.
For a little while. Slowly started to creep its way back up.
So do you like that they started pulling from other shows? All right, how do I phrase this? Jasmine the fan, and then Jasmine the competitor, I guess you could say, because...
Okay, let's see. So Jasmine the fan of the show, I don't mind Are You the One and that Exes show, whatever that
X
is.
on the Beach?
X on the Beach, thank you. I don't mind that show. Big Brother, I didn't mind so much. I probably would have picked a few different people, but whatever, my opinion. Competitor Jasmine, hell no. I absolutely not. you're not part of the real world. You're not part of road rules. You didn't even do fresh meat. Like, who are you? Like, coming in here thinking you can take over. Competitor Jasmine, no. Fan Jasmine, yes.
No, I mean, I do agree with you about Are You the One because, I mean, it's still MTV at the end of the day. Like, I mean, Are You the One, like you said, Cam, Nelson came from Are You the One.
That's right, yeah.
Amanda, like, we've gotten characters from Are You the One that you could very easily insert into Real World and not notice a difference. You feel me?
Right.
But if you were to say put somebody like, I don't know, Casey, Fessy, Amber B onto Real World, you might notice a little bit of a difference. I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there with like the character traits.
Yeah, I will say that with the Big Brother crew, you can see that. And I think you can also kind of see with like some of the people who have maybe done only one or two of the challenges from Big Brother. I think they kind of realize that that's just not their cup of tea. Like, for example, Swift and Bailey. I think they are a great couple. I think they're awesome people. But I think they're people that are just kind of more nice, don't really want to have a lot of drama, don't really want to do all this, just want to work hard, get the job done, make some money, and go. And I just think they're just not that fit for the challenge. Like, the challenge is mentally, emotionally, physically tough. You will stab your fucking best friend in the face to go far. And on Big Brother, people are kind of like lying, and you know that's the game of lying, but people come in these challenges thinking, oh, well, you need to be honorary. Well, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Are you honest for a moment, but you're going to have to, at some point, you can't take everybody with you to the final. Not everyone's going to get a piece of the check. So I think Big Brother people haven't quite found their footing yet.
And no, yeah, they took actually kind of a break for a couple of seasons from pulling from Ari the One, but then this season they just now pulled again because Amber M actually comes from Ari the One. I will say this, a lot of the rookies this season have felt a little out of place, right? Like they've just either been, okay, I'll be completely honest, either boring or they just been like, it's been an awkward transition, but I'll say this right now. Rookie of the Year, Amber M. That's my honest opinion. I honestly believe that. Maybe not like, competitor-wise, but in terms of like what she brought to the show, draw a comparison to how you and John A. were your rookie seasons. I genuinely feel like she's a cast member that you might be able to convince someone that was on Real World. You'd be like, yeah, she was from Real World. You might not notice a difference, but I feel like if you said Lolo Jones was on the Real World, you'd be like, was she really? You get what I mean?
Yes. You know what? It's funny you said that because at first Amber M, I was kind of like on the fence, and I do see a lot of similarities in her approach and how she handles things on how me and John A did. I just feel like editing and how they are putting the show together didn't showcase her enough for people to really like grasp more enter. And that's something that I've been saying like since the show started. The editing and different things are just off. I have a bunch of like questions about like, well, what about this person and why are these people really mad? Like something is just off about this season as far as how it's flowing.
They cut out a lot. Well, for starters, I mean, this is unrelated to Amber M. Theresa and Nani on the episode that Theresa got eliminated actually got into apparently it's actually been confirmed, a verbal altercation after the daily. We didn't see that.
I heard about that too. We have the Grapevine Challenge people. We still kind of talk. I've heard about that too, about that one. And I feel like even with Lolo and Theresa, like, I feel like there's more to that. Like, it can't be just that little conversation they had at the kitchen counter. Like, there has to be more to that. Like,
there's a lot we aren't being shown. Like, Amber M had 2 hookups that were not shown. Like, she hooked up with...
I've heard that too.
Actually, there was a whole love triangle that was completely cut out of it between Liv, Michi, and Amber. Like, a complete storyline that just was not shown. And
Yeah,
like I don't.
I'm wondering why they did that. Like I'm that's so weird because that type of stuff is so not normally what they do. That's the stuff you really see, and you won't normally hear people complaining. I want to see more competitiveness and not so much drama about who's hooking up with who. So it's really weird that they did that. And I also have seen today Lolo's tweets, things
Yeah.
about how production made her leave and all this type of stuff and things like that. I don't know. This season seemed a little like, I don't know. Something's just not quite clicking with me on this one.
Yeah.
My my editors, like I love my editors, like, or they're not my editors anymore, but I do love the editing team. Like I don't want them to like think that I hate them in case I ever go back and they edit me really badly. So let me just save face real quick.
We'll get back into now like the current scene, but I want to ask like real quickly because always the thing is like, oh, when were you last called? Like when could we have seen you again? I read places as well that you were called or made it far actually into the casting process for War of the Worlds 1 in 2018. Is that just a rumor or were you?
I cannot confirm or deny any of those things.
Okay.
That's all I can say. I have been advised for future things to not say anything about that, so I am not.
Okay.
I gotta leave it at that.
Fair enough. But yeah, we could just talk now about the current product, which I want to ask you about. What are your thoughts on the Red Skull twist?
Love it.
Really?
Absolutely love it. I think it is a great idea. I am so mad they didn't do this when I was, actually, you know what? Scratch that. I'm not that mad they didn't do that when I was playing, but I think it's a great idea because when I was playing the game, you would get mad at people who never had to see an elimination,
Yeah.
and that really like would piss me off. But now, like, in order to get to a final, you have to go in. And at the same time, it's kind of like, in a way, you're picking your own destiny, like who you want to go in. That's why I'm getting kind of, like, the beginning of the season, I was getting mad at some of these, like, older, like, girls who've been there for a while. Like, why the fuck are none of you guys calling Amber M out? Like, oh my God, I've been like, Amber M, me and you hall brawl, battle the little people. Let's do this. Like, come on. Like, I just don't understand why everyone is playing so scared to go in. TJ's not just going to give you a skull. Like, so, but I love the skull idea. I hope they keep that.
Yeah, I mean, there is some element to it. I mean, I did kind of like the politicking aspect before of like trying to like plead with people to not throw you into elimination, but I could definitely see why someone would like this twist. I mean, seeing people have to like fight for their, I guess, right to run the final is definitely like more redeeming.
Yeah, I think so. But the only thing I don't like about this part of the game is that the what do they call them? The team that wins. I can't think of the name of them right now, what they're called. They get to see who voted for who. At first, I was like, oh my God, that's a great aspect. Like, people are going to call people out. But nobody's really doing that. I feel like that's just kind of like a waste. Like, so I think they should scratch that part. Like, it's not really doing anything. Like, I was expecting to see some drama go down because of that, and that's not happening.
But I was going to ask you about too is like because I've seen this thrown around as well. People are pretty upset about it. It seems like they just don't really have a lot of fun on these shows anymore. I mean, this past episode they had a costume party. I like to see that, but yeah, I don't know. Fans miss the days of like more costume parties, like seeing like the funny stuff in the house. Now it just seems like it's all like intense, kind of like.
Yeah, it's like kind of like just super dark. Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, that's one thing. I've heard someone say this a few years back. You knew when you go on a challenge, you better have a costume or two together. So, I mean, I think fans do miss that. But I did hear that they were planning on doing a costume party, and everybody was supposed to pick somebody in the house to dress up as. But I guess I don't know if it was production or if the cast members just decided that it wouldn't be a good idea and it might offend people. So that kind of, that's just what I heard in the rumor mill. So I'm not sure how true that really is.
Yeah.
But no, people do miss, the fun and like, especially with the pandemic going on, like they really want to see people have fun. And this is a fun fact. I just found out that the little place they go to have drinks, I thought they found a club for them to go to and they put all this challenge like stuff up. And I realized it's like a part of the house that they designated for them. I was like, so y'all took my bougie lounges that I used to create in the challenge house. As people from Battle of the Seasons and Free Asians, I would create, a bougie lounge room. So they finally did that. They need to pay me my money for that idea, though.
75 cents every time.
Yeah. I'll take it.
So, who are maybe some cast members from the newer cast members, obviously, like that? Who are like your newer favorites? Like, do you have any?
Well, I think we can all agree that the queen, Big T, is just absolutely amazing. I just want to like hang out with her and I just want her to read me stories all day long because I just love her voice and she's so sweet. Like, oh my God, I love, and she has looks for days. I mean, like, oh my God, she's beautiful. So I really like Big T. Who else is new this year on this season? Amber M. Like I said, I was on the fence about her. I want to see her again.
Yeah,
I want
definitely.
to showcase her more so me and other people can really get to see who she is. Because I watched her season of Are You the One? And I thought that was an absolutely great season, how they did that. So it was really cool to see her on the challenge. Amber B, I remember her from Big Brother. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's okay. Like, I think someone, I don't know who said it might have been Kyle, said she smiles in your face and then is like plotting in the back. And I'm like, she really is doing that. So why aren't y'all showing her do this really? Like, I want to see that. I think that'll make me like her more and make me like her as a villain a little bit. I think Gabby is a badass. I do think she made the stupidest rookie mistake, but I do think she is someone to watch. Nom is just, oh my God. I feel like they're not giving him enough, like, camera time.
No, definitely not. He going into this, he was like my rookie that I was kind of like penciled in on, like wanted to see like how he would do. Now that he's finally got Lolo off his back, I mean, he might be seeing.
Oh God, finally, poor thing. But yeah, those are pretty much the rookies that I like so far. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the rookies who are there because. I mean, Liv, we never really got to see much of her. I think she was there for like 1.5 seconds. No offense to her. I know she's injured, and, that's out of her control. So, I don't know. It's a different group of rookies that they put on. So, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
Definitely. But in closing here, kind of like I was going to ask you now, kind of like a rapid fire. I was going to ask you to list off from least to greatest challenge seasons that you've done, like in terms of like your favorite, like least being like obviously worst, like, and then to your best, obviously, that you enjoy.
Okay, so the only ones that I have done personally. Okay.
Yeah.
My least favorite, Rivals 2. My favorite, this one's tough. And I've only done 5 challenges, so it shouldn't be tough. It's a toss-up between Battle of the Seasons, because I was with my family, and Rivals, which was my first. And out of all of my challenge career, that's the best. I did the best in that one. So I'll probably have to go with Battle of the Seasons because I was with my family.
No, yeah, for sure. But I think on Rivals 1, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't think that they had repeat eliminations, but for some reason when it was you and Cara, you and Jonna versus Cara and Laurel, it seemed like they repeated that elimination and it was obviously like a headbanger. It was the one that Kenny and West versus Davis and Tyree in. I'm not calling anything, but it just seemed a little suspicious.
You know what? After that season, I did hear that from a few cast members that it seemed really weird that, you guys got, thrown in. Like, that's, like, obviously, like, that was kind of weird. And then we got thrown in, and it's that elimination. And like you said, it was the first time they had repeated an elimination. So we, like, thought that we knew it was going to be something physical, maybe, but not a repeat elimination,
Yeah, like it was a legit like football drill, pretty much against.
Yeah, like someone had said it was like a Pee-wee Little League team going against, the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it's just not gonna. Well, probably could have won, but I'm saying because my Cowboys aren't doing so hot, so I can talk bad about them right now.
But thank you again for joining me today. I had a ton of fun chatting with you. I mean, this is probably fun for you going down memory lane a little bit. What are maybe the odds potentially now? Say if the situation's right that we could potentially see you again.
The odds are very, very, very good.
Okay, I think that.
So just take it as that, and that's why I said there's certain things I can and can't talk about right now, but the odds are very good that you could see me again. You never know.
But thank you again. I'll let you know when this is out.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. Have a good one.